everyone sort of has an identity crisis.
You have to allow this space and uncertainty to come in. You have to liberate yourself somehow in a way for some period of time for this uncertainty.
Or is it just producing noise and disruption? And do you want people to use more AI? And why would you want that? Like, we're optimizing for more productivity, more efficiency, more speed, but when do we optimize for more humanity? You could do anything, but what do you choose to do?
Welcome everyone to Growthmates, to this new season, the Creator's Path, where I talk to people who create stuff in the broad term, businesses, courses, content, anything. And today I have a pleasure to have this conversation with my friend Ioana. We actually had the pleasure to talk already a couple of years ago on this podcast. So if you haven't seen that, listened to that, please do. It's an amazing conversation. And in the last couple of years, so many things has changed for both of us. So I decided to meet again, to talk, to make it more authentic, human. So welcome, Ioana. So happy to have you here.
I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very excited to take this opportunity to reflect on everything that has been happening in my life. So yeah, I'm looking forward to unpacking everything.
Absolutely. So if I look back a couple of years ago, oh my God, what we were discussing that time with you was so different from where you are today. I remember asking you about UX goodies. I think you were at UiPath that time.
Yeah.
Then you joined Miro when I left Miro, actually. So we couldn't cross our paths. And maybe instead of me telling you your story, can you walk me through your last couple of years? What was happening with your life, with you, like step by step, and we will dive into each part of it.
Let's do it. Yeah, absolutely. So just as an intro to the last couple of years, I was recently in San Francisco. So Adobe invited me to this AI VIP summit, and it was a summit for creators and from different disciplines. Some of them were filmmakers, other people were illustrators, and we did like this room roundtable where we had to introduce ourselves. And it was the first time in my life when I had real trouble articulating what I'm about, what I am now. Because for so many years, my professional identity was tied to the title or company, or just I'm the product designer at Miro working on AI, or I am the product designer at UiPath working on. So that was what I led myself with. And this time it was almost paralyzing. Like I felt just my head was empty and I didn't know, like, I think I'm a product designer, but am I really? Because now I'm doing a bit more educational stuff and content creation. And now I have my small business operation of doing things, and I'm dabbling a lot into art, so I don't know what I am anymore. And so it was really interesting to see that typically I have a response for everything. So that's the kind of person I am. I'm able to, whatever you ask me and put out there, I have something I can play with it. But this time defining myself felt really difficult. So, and then I realized listening to people in the room that everyone sort of has an identity crisis right now. So we're all kind of like, even in a talk earlier today at Hatch, there was this conversation about how design is going also into engineering and a bit into PM, and we've seen designers transition into PM. So I think it's a collective identity crisis in the design industry, and I struggle with it as well, but I'm also very excited to be able to perpetually redefine or communicate myself in different ways, or different parts of me, lead with different parts of me. So with this very long intro, what actually happened, like in reality, it's a tangible reality, not abstractions. I was working, I think when we last spoke, I was working at UiPath on a product called Clipboard AI. It was a very well-received product. It won Time Magazine's Best Invention of 2023 award. I now have my patents. This summer, my patents were finally approved. So I'm an inventor of AI design things.
Yes. I didn't know that. Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, it's pretty new.
Impressive.
So I've worked on that, and that was also an opportunity to redefine how I view myself or how I communicate myself. And I realize I'm very excited about this AI ambiguity and like how do we go from all the noise and hype into clarity and systems and just proper frameworks for making design decisions in the AI space. So I kind of transitioned or also built this, let's say, lane in my career of doing AI education. I launched the AI for Designers course on Interaction Design Foundation. And then I started doing talks about AI. I was at South by Southwest. I have a TED Talk in 2
Exactly.
weeks.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah,
Yeah.
looking forward to it, really.
It's really crazy. So I've talked in Canada this year, Amsterdam. I'm going all over the world talking about AI and trying to contribute with my modest perspective on how to disambiguate the space. And then I joined Miro as the first product designer for AI in an existing AI team that was made only out of engineers and a PM. And so I was the first permanent AI designer because they were kind of trying to get design support from across the org, but it wasn't sustainable because it's such a big problem space that you need someone dedicated, at least one person full time thinking about this problem space. And that was a very intense growth experience because of the nature of Miro. You worked at Miro, you know it better than me. You're one of the first designers.
I remember. Unforgettable experience in all the ways imaginable.
Yeah, and as an AI designer working at Miro, the possibilities, like the open-endedness of a canvas, essentially, it's just infinite content, infinite, a world of infinite options for even surfacing AI. So you could do anything, but what do you choose to do? And how do you experiment with AI when experimenting in the age of AI means you actually have to build the thing to really understand how it performs in the wild? Because it's not just about design decisions, it's also about the technological support, like reliability. So
Yeah.
you have to build things to learn. And so it was a lot of learning that happened during my 1 year and something at Miro. And yeah, I'm very grateful for it. And then this year, I realized I want to give myself the space to reinvent what I'm doing, accept this open-endedness in my professional life. Like, how do I define myself? What am I most focused on? And I've learned that it's kind of a fluid path of its own. Like now, I rely more. Intuition was also mentioned here in a talk at Hatch earlier. I've learned to accept intuition as something that's not illegal, like Jenny was saying earlier. I accept it, I embrace it, I listen to it, and I feel like I'm being guided by this and what I'm drawn towards and what feels interesting right now. Where can I contribute most? What are the parts that I've yet explored in me and need to be expressed? And yeah, I'm in my most fun and unpredictable year so far.
Before we go deeper, I want to take a moment to thank a few tools that are supporting this season of Growthmates. These are tools I use in my work and recommend to clients, so checking them out is actually one of the best ways you can support the show. First one, Mobbin. Mobbin has been my number one product inspiration source for years. Whenever I'm working with clients or designing a new activation flow, I literally start by checking how top products solve similar problems. Mobbin has thousands of real flows: Figma, Airbnb, Duolingo, and more. And for this season, I curated a special Upgrades Flows collection, which you can browse completely for free. The link is in the description. Second one, Obi by Core. This one really changed how I think about onboarding. Instead of boring tooltips, Obi creates a personalized onboarding call with an AI assistant that feels almost human. It adapts to you, asks questions, guides you like a trainer. And honestly, it's the first onboarding experience in years that really surprised me. If you're working on activation or education, I really recommend trying Obi. So, if you want to support me, the podcast, and the creators building these amazing tools, all the links are waiting for you in the episode description. All right, let's get back to the episode. As you said, like exploration or redefining yourself is such an interesting moment probably. And I can imagine a lot of people who are listening to us, they are also in that process in some way, either in their current job or they are thinking of starting creating something. While you were doing this already for quite a long time, like even a couple of years when we talked, you were creating your AI, not AI, UX goodies.
The UX
You
goodies.
see how AI is like in my head, it's everywhere. And now you redefine that slightly, you're still doing it, but you're shaping your business, your creative business. This is, if you need an introduction, I would say I'm a creative business owner. Like this is who you are in my eyes. And I'm wondering, what was the moment or like this thing recently that was a catalysator of starting your creative path again? And for people who are curious about just getting started, you know, what you would tell them?
Well, I think a lot of change and the transformations in our lives are triggered by negative experiences. And for me, it was this kind of, I think it was a proper official burnout. But yeah, I don't know where you draw the line between I'm just flirting with burnout or oh my God, I'm in a total burnout. But I was in some sort of burnout experience. And I felt that I will never recover and I will never like design again. And I don't want to be in tech anymore. And I don't like this anymore. And so it was like a period of disengagement with what tech is. And it kind of threw me into this moral dilemma, perpetually questioning everything like, are we building products in the right way? The system incentivizes all the wrong things, like just profit, like even in the AI space, right? We're adding more AI in our products, but is it really a good thing? Or is it just producing noise and disruption? And do you want people to use more AI? And why would you want that? Like, we're optimizing for more productivity, more efficiency, more speed, more, but like, when do we optimize for more humanity? And kind of, I was like, what is going on in the world? And do I want to participate in that? And so that, let's say, dark place threw me into an existential crisis where I realized that I can't continue to contribute to the system that I don't believe in anymore. And I want to make art because I felt that design is limited in impact in the real world, because you operate within systems that are complex, complicated. They put a lot of boundaries, constraints around you. So you don't have, it's very rare. Like Jenny earlier in her talk invoked not boring software. So people like Andy Allen, who's building not boring software, they have full liberty, they're doing amazing projects, and that's a good example of tech. But for the rest of us, most people, we're in these large companies, large organisms that are kind of built on bureaucracy and politics and layers of inefficiency, legacy systems. And I realized that I can't make impact through design. And that the people, like the group of creative people that are leading where technology is going, that are kind of experimenting with the limits of technology and pushing them further and further and further and raising all the important questions and raising ethical questions. And so the most impact in technology I've noticed was made by artists. So I was like, if I really want to make the world better, maybe I should just ask questions through art, right? Because of course, science answers questions, design is a way of answering a question, but art raises them, and it's kind of at the forefront of just critical thinking, if you want. So I decided I want to be an artist. And then moving into this, all sorts of things happen, like imposter syndrome all the way, like who am I to create art? What legitimates? I'm legitimate in this space because I have no art studies, and but now we have all these mediums and instruments and tools and even AI opportunities to create things. And so I started playing with the space of creation and philosophy and maybe, let's say, tech poetry. And I found my excitement again, and I found hope, and I found it reopened, it helped me reset into a new space where I'm like, you know what, maybe things aren't that bad. Maybe we can fix tech. Maybe we can save things if we just go back to the important values, which are humanity, and arts should be closely related to talking about what it means to be human. So yeah, it was like a half burnout, half wanting to do art. This is what triggered kind of like this identity transformation, or I wouldn't even call it a transformation because I feel like a different person, but I feel like it's just an evolution of who I was. So it was like organically moving into what I was hoping to do, even subconsciously for a long time. Like I feel like I'm going closer to where I belong, or where I feel the most happy, the happiest and most creative. And yeah, so
This
it was
is so good. So
yeah.
good to hear that. And my story is similar, you know, like burnout was also like a pivotal moment for me, for my career, to start creating Growthmates and stuff like that. And sometimes it's inevitable, right? So you need to get to the bottom sometimes to, you know, to swim up. And as for the art, you know, I don't know if you read this book, The Creative Act, The Way of Being by Rick Rubin. Like it's a lot of like controversial things there as well about imposter syndrome, but also about like liberating yourself in order to create something. And I'm curious, what gives you most joy right now as you create many different things, and your creative business consists of different elements. You have an agency element, you have the teaching, you have speaking, you have content creation, many elements. What gives you most joy right now?
Well, exactly this versatility and variety of possibilities. And I've recently reflected and really felt it deeply. What's the most exciting part about this moment of my career is the ability to imagine anything and then just experiment with it. So when you're, again, in a very closed environment, or an environment with rules that's made of guidelines and structures and frameworks, and it works in a certain way, you play by those rules, right? And so if you want to innovate in a product, like it's pretty hard because you're going to hit walls like, we can't afford this right now, or this is not in our company ethos, this is not right. So when I'm doing my own thing, it's like I can do anything I want. Like I think about a thing that I'm excited about. Like I actually have a big project I'm working on right now, and it was just an idea that came after I did like this pause this summer and explored a lot of art, went to museums, traveled across Scandinavia from Copenhagen, Sweden, Norway, and so on. And then in that space I created, I had this idea surface from, probably it was there in the back of my mind, but because of the noise, it just couldn't be heard up to that point. So I surfaced this idea and I'm like, oh my God, this would be such a cool project to work on. And then I started working on it, and now I'm getting great signals from large companies that want to support it, and it's turning into reality. And this is the part I love most. Like I can just think of things and then put them out in the world and see how people, like it's full freedom and full experimentation mode all the time. Like
Awesome.
maybe I want to do this, maybe I want to do that. Let's see how it feels. I'm going to start playing around with it, and if it feels good, I'll continue. If not, I'm going to drop it, go to the next thing. And so it's really, yeah, it's just a lot of freedom and fluidity when you're doing your own thing. And you can imagine the work you want to do. Like, you can decide, this is what I'm most excited to work on now, or this is what I think will have the most impact. And you don't have to convince anyone, right? So as opposed to structural path where you're in a structure, you have to get buy-in, you have to advocate for your idea, you have to be a champion of whatever you want to do, and then leadership has to be convinced with numbers and metrics and ROI and stuff like that. But when you're on your own, you don't have that layer of persuasion. You just go ahead and do whatever you feel like, and of course having some sort of pragmatic thing in mind, right? So I'm not doing only things I like. I also think about, how am I going to earn a living? Where is the intersection between being profitable, like let's say it wasn't a priority this year, because I took this year like, let's see what happens. And I was prepared to like maybe not earn anything.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? It might be possible that this year I make no money. And I was like, I want to offer myself that. I just want to give myself, like, after 15 years working, I think I can afford, like, I'm privileged. I realize not everyone can give themselves 1 year to do nothing. But it turned out that I'm making more money than I used to make when I was hired.
I hear it very often from people who decided not to make any money.
They make more money.
The reality is opposite.
This is really something I want to invite everyone to reflect on. Like, how does that really work? What does it mean? It means that maybe when you don't optimize for money, it becomes a byproduct of doing things you love or you believe in. So it's just, like, the way to make more money is to figure out what you want to work on and invest energy. And that's when money becomes a byproduct. So if you prioritize for money, of course, that's also a path, and I can totally respect that. And most people have other people to take care of, families, I don't know. So sure, you can optimize for that. But this year I said, it's not going to be about that. It's just going to be about self-exploration through things I do. And it turned out, yeah, I'm making more money than when I was employed, and with my full-time gigs and everything. So I think the key here is to just have some courage to start. Like, for me, it was a long time of thinking, I will be no one if I don't have a brand name attached to my CV. People won't respect me anymore, or I don't know, they won't like me. And I won't have job security. I won't have financial security. How am I going to deal with that? Maybe I'm never going to be able to go back to getting a job because I have this gap year, and how will I explain it? And this year I was just, you know what, I'm going to own all these fears and just give myself the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Experiment, yeah.
And I think the main thing that resonates to me is, like, you have to allow this space and uncertainty to come in. You have to liberate yourself somehow in a way for some period of time for this uncertainty, not to control every single month, every single income source, but just to let it be for some period of time, at whatever you can afford right now, 1 month, 2 months, and see what comes in, analyze it, and then start maybe exploring that as a creative endeavor. Because for me, my journey started with like super controlled type of mode, like I'm advisor, I will do that, clients work, la la la. But the creative part of my business was more like coming from my inner source, the joy I get from it, not usually money, but money comes after, like because it comes from your joy and you attract opportunities and attract possibilities. And I'm wondering, like you mentioned, like some, if you can give, I don't know, a teaser of what you're thinking about now, like these projects that give you most joy. What is that? Or recently, what was the one that gave you that, element of delight, creative delight? Yeah.
I have a couple of answers for that, but I just want to quickly follow up with a very, very short event in my life that had an impact. Last year when I gave a talk at South by, so it was 2024, and I gave my first talk at South by. And when I was coming back, I kind of met a lot of people there. You always socialize a lot. It's it's like a big festival. It is a big festival. And flying back, it just so happened that I had my seat in the plane for 10 hours next to someone I have met And he was the head of innovation or chief innovation, chief creative officer at this kind of think tank innovation studio from Copenhagen that has closed, was closed already, but it was very iconic in the Scandinavian innovation scene. It was like created by IKEA as a sub business, Space 10, whatever. He was a very, very smart, interesting, and creative person. And he told me that he structures his life in years of work, and then he takes 6 months to 1 year. And during those years of work, he saves runway money, which is typically associated with startups, like how much runway do you have left? But he saves runway money to give himself space. So he saves money on the side for the space stages that he had probably 3 times in his life. And so he takes his breaks, and then at the end of them, he comes out as a different person. And he gets really cool roles, or he finds a right, because you're in no hurry, there's no urgency, and things just start to connect very organically. And what's interesting is that I used to think that you can have both. Like, I can do a lot of side projects, interesting things, and still have a full-time job. Why do I need to sacrifice my safety in order to? But the reality of my last year proved that you really you can have both, but nothing will feel spectacular. Like your full-time job will feel like you're struggling to keep up because you also want to do experimentation and creativity on the side. And then the creativity will never get the space it deserves, or the, just resources from you, your internal resources into them. And so you're like doing half a good work in both sides and none of them shines. And so this year I accepted that going for these half solutions where you're trying to not compromise anything and keep everything in balance and have everything, like the FOMO mentality, is costing you opportunities and knowledge about yourself. So to get back, one project I'm excited about, it's very, let's say, varied. Like it's one of the things that I was most energized from. It's very basic. It's just spending more time in Midjourney. And I always had like these kinds of imagination, active imagination, thinking like an interest in aesthetics and just looking at beautiful things, because that's what prompted me to become a designer. But now I just allowed myself this daily, sometimes a couple of days a week ritual where I stay in Midjourney and I try to bring different things I have in my mind to life. And it's one of the things that brings me the most joy. It's very basic. And that's when I feel that, you know what, technology isn't all bad, because it really enables people who didn't have the skills. So if I were to create the same imagery in the conventional way, I would have to learn Photoshop and spend a lot of hours. And now it's quick gratification, which also raised a couple of like ethical things. I saw a reel recently, which was kind of making fun of how art is created in 2025. Where you just push a button, and then do you want to make it more artistic? Yeah, let's, and you push another button. And so it's. I also have moments when I'm like, well, what am I doing here? I'm just writing something, and then image is produced, and it's weird. But at the same time, Midjourney is an instrument where you can use your imagination as an interface to, like, it mediates your imagination to an external, tangible output. And I think that's super powerful, and it energizes me a lot. Other projects I'm excited about is my one thing I'm very excited about is my new talk. My new talk is called Okay, AI Everything. What now, what next? And it's like kind of a snapshot of where we are in 2025 and a set of deeply thought predictions about where the industry is moving and tech in general. And I'm gonna give this talk in a bunch of places this year as well, also hopefully next year at South by. And yeah, at my TED talk is actually a panel about how AI makes everything feel in a way the same. Like there's this sameness that's being produced. And we're gonna discuss how do we still remain creative when the instruments kind of force us into stereotypes and generic things.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, if you are new here, besides making this podcast, I also help companies grow meaningful products through Growthmates. My whole career, I've been balancing between user needs and business goals. And the biggest truth I've learned is this: what is good for the user is also good for the business. Over the last 8 years, from Miro to supporting over 25 teams, I've collected a lot of practical frameworks that actually work. And now there are 3 ways I share them. First, my POG advising program. This is where I work closely with your team to build a sustainable, user-centric growth system, not just experiments. Second, the onboarding design sprint. It's a short, focused collaboration to fix activation and redesign the first time experience. Many teams see a real uplift very fast. And third, my course, User Centric Product Led Growth in the AI Era. It's a 3-week intensive where we turn a real challenge into a clear growth roadmap. People from Miro, Dropbox, Atlassian, Loom have already taken it, and for podcast listeners, there is a discount with the code Growthmates. If you want to explore any of these, everything is on growthmates.club and the link is in the episode description. And if someone on your team might benefit, feel free to share it. And now let's get back to the episode.
As any of us, like who are doing things for living, but also things to get some joy, you have both. Yeah, you have some parts in your time where you can be like super creative, like Midjourney hours, let's call them like that. And you have talks that are more like demanding preparations, a lot of things. But before we talk about like specifics, what's inside, like some people who are listening probably curious how to get there, like how to get an invitation from that. Like it's maybe too far, but maybe the first one that you have received was also very good, very huge event. So what helped you to put yourself on the stage and become visible for these fantastic events and opportunities that are available to you right now?
Yeah.
If you look back, what advice you'd give to people and in me, because I also want to travel that much as you do at some point, where we should start?
Yeah. Well, I think here I'm a little bit lucky because I like to express things. And this kind of, in a way, pushed me into being vocal. It's interesting that my boyfriend made an interesting note about me sometime last year, and I reflect on it very often. He said that I think by talking. It's just, I have to talk in order to think. So I can't build structure in my head unless I talk about a thing. I can't. It's just that it's almost like it's not there. Like and with him and with people in my close circle, I tend to do that. Like I almost ramble things just to give them a structure and land at some, like what people make in their head as a thought process. For me, it's on the outside. And this is what led me to create UX Goodies. Like I had to have this external, tangible place to crystallize knowledge, share experience, document things. And I fed it for many years. So it's everyone says, oh, now you get to work not a lot of hours per week and make money and you're an influencer and you travel and so on. But I've been working on this since 2018. That's when UX Goodies was opened, was created as an account on Instagram. And then constantly every day, maybe not every day, but for the past 7 years, I showed up and I kept communicating what I'm thinking about in order for me to build a clarity of my messaging, of the things that are interesting. And I still, on my personal Instagram account, I continue to post a lot of my personal experiences because I have to journal them somewhere. I have to, like, as a child, I used to journal a lot. So my entire life was documented in dates and here's what happened today. And if you read my journals from like 6, 7, no, I think I learned to write at 7, let's say 10. They're very factual, like to the point. Like I woke up at 10:30, I ate omelet for breakfast, so I've been doing it. So in this sense, I'm lucky. I enjoy the process of documenting things in artifacts, which can be a post on LinkedIn or can be a reel on Instagram today, and then putting in, or this conversation we're having together, right? I'm documenting what's going on in my head externally. So I think if you're the kind of person who enjoys that or has been doing that in one format or another, you can experiment with making that public. So I think this is the first step, making the leap from something that felt a bit like private, or you're not really comfortable talking about some mistake you did on your design role. Maybe flirt with the idea, entertain the idea of putting it out there in public and seeing if other people resonate, or it's just for your own getting out of the comfort zone, right? So that's one thing. Externalize your thinking and your experience and put it out there. I think social media is a very strange place in 2025. It's different than it was in 2018, at least in the tech industry. There weren't so many tech influencers, so much noise, so much content, AI yelling at you from all sides. And I think it might be a bit harder to build a following. But at the same time, I think the upside is that people are looking for very authentic people. They're looking for real connections more than ever. Like they don't want that kind of guru personality that you look up to and it's like they're 10 years ahead of you in your career. Now you want to just meet people who are maybe 1 year ahead of you, or they're in a job you're interested about, or in a space there. And like you're seeing this micro culture groups assemble in different parts of the internet. And I think that's really wonderful. And it's like the dream of the internet, right?
Yeah.
And that's an opportunity. So if you want to put yourself out there, be very excited about whatever gets you excited, and then you'll attract people that are excited about the same topic. Like I've had the experience of starting to share my AI, I'm afraid to call it art. Let's call it visual research. I feel that this is, nobody
Still
can
art.
attack me on the name visual research. But I started putting it out there, and I discovered this very supportive community of Instagram people doing the same thing. And we're always sharing each other's posts and commenting for reach and engagement. It's like a really, what I, from the outside, I sensed that the NFT community was sort of like that. A very supportive artist community outside of the, let's say, hypey things like the monkeys or whatever.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like you've mentioned this sharing part many times, and this is a part of creative act. If you haven't shared your work, it's not complete probably, because the viewer, listener is completing the creative act by interpreting your work. But I see many people are afraid of that element. They can create, a lot of work is created hidden somewhere, no sharing because of some internal triggers. And I hear it from everywhere, from my friends, from like people who say like, who am I to share that? Everybody's sharing and I don't like to contribute to that noise and so on. And I'm wondering, in the world where we are today, a lot of uncertainty is happening, right? Is it something like should heal us, this creative act, and this sharing is useful actually? And what we can tell to people who are, let's say, restricting that sharing element to help them start sharing?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't think you have to share. Like, if you want to be private, be private. I think there are a couple of reasons that are holding you back, and you should kind of psychotherapy yourself, maybe with your therapist if you have it, into what's really holding you back. Like, is it the fear of being criticized in public? Is it the fear that maybe someone's gonna comment something like, well, this is a stupid thing you just said. It's not like that. Like, that's one thing that's more common than we expect. People don't wanna handle the being criticized or attacked in public, which can happen on the internet. That's one reason. Another is, again, it's not valuable enough, it's not interesting enough. here's an example. Yesterday, I was walking on the street, heading to picking up my daughter from kindergarten. And I see this status of like this post on Instagram from a group of artists, it was like one artist criticizing the art scene in Bucharest. And he was very vocal and he had absolutely no engagement. But to me, like another one person on the internet, it felt really interesting. And so I commented and then we jumped into DMs to unpack his critique of the scene. And that post had barely any engagement, but it prompted a long DM conversation and that ended with, let's meet at whatever event, here's how I can support you, I can introduce you to that person, and so on and so forth. And it was kind of like, you don't have to have, my point is, you don't have to reach a large audience. You don't have to be popular. You don't have to be successful by metrics. But if you reach one person that resonates with your thing, and then you have a conversation with that person, yesterday I felt like I found my tribe. I found another person in my tribe. And that person also texted me, happy to see that people still think with their minds and they're not zombified. Because he was criticizing exactly that we're kind of in this automated, we're not even thinking about what we're liking and consuming.
Yeah.
And we bonded based on like this almost no engagement post. And I think this is the magic of the internet. You can reach that one person. Some weeks you won't reach anyone interesting, but sometimes you will get one friend and a person that you vibe with and you learn from and you can have an interesting conversation with. And I think this is the main reason why. Like the thing I value most from the many years as a design creator is the relationships I made. Like there's a meme about it, right? The real win is the friends we made along the way. But that's exactly it. I mean, for me, and I'm not bullshitting anyone, it sounds as a cliche, but knowing you, talking to you, personal things, non-personal things, all the things, that's what I'm most grateful for. Like, of course, I made money, I'm popular, people know me, and so on. Those are nice things, but they don't nourish you deeply. Like they don't feed your soul, and they're not deep motivators, right? And so meeting people on the internet, I think, is a great reason to start putting yourself out there. And generally speaking, I think the design industry is one of the more supporting spaces. So I don't think anyone will throw trash at you. Everybody will kind of welcome you. And if you come from a place of vulnerability and share maybe, it depends what you're, and there's also, the last point I want to make is that there are two kinds of things you can share. I started with sharing very sterile and anonymized ideas, right? Like here's a framework for whatever. Here's what Nielsen Norman has to say about, here's our interesting research. Because I wasn't, like at that time, it took me 7 years to get to a point where I'm authentic and I can be myself on the internet. For many years, I kind of censored everything and try to make sure that I don't upset anyone and I'm like neutral, like Switzerland. And I really put an effort into kind of censoring my journey. And now I'm like all over. I feel like Cardi B.
I also feel that change, from that couple of years back, that you are way more open to talk about your personal stuff, etc. But I'm curious, you mentioned, and I think this is another worry, I'm like just trying to read your minds while you're listening, that criticizing, we don't like that as humans, or like we are afraid of that. And you have a big following, I think around 300,000. Oh my God. I've been recently to Coldplay concert. It was 90,000. And now I'm like trying to triple that to imagine how big is your audience, which is insane. So I can imagine that you maybe faced some criticism or some critical hate comments at least once. So how, if you did or if you didn't, that is wow. Yeah, maybe more people would love to start doing that because it's not happening in our industry in the way we work and we create.
It's really happening very rarely. It almost never happened to me. When it happened, it was because my account was very anonymous. Nobody knew the face behind. It's easy to attack something that feels like a non-person. And you would imagine you don't think about the person. When you show up as the person you are, people don't really attack people. They attack ideas, they attack And so I had a couple of things that upset me in the beginning, maybe one or two, like very little. But in 7 years as a content creator, I didn't get hate. I don't know why. I think I know why. For many years, I was a bit neutral, so not very controversial, not taking risks, not sharing opinions that might trigger people. I didn't want to, for once, I felt like I would disrespect myself if I would do it, because those are the most engaging posts. Like the posts with controversy on social media trigger the most conversations, reactions, they tend to go viral. So I didn't want to ride that train of cheating by sharing controversial, like design is dead. But I did have a post like, everybody says design is dead. Is it really?
Yeah.
So it's hard to attack me because I'm like I was factual for many years. And now when I became myself, I don't know, people just got used to what I do and who I am. And nobody's like, who is this person? You know what? Like nobody's going in conflict with me because I feel I'm accepted by the internet as right. But it's like, if you want to avoid that at all costs, you can start with safer types of content. Like if you say my experience was this, nobody can come in and say, I don't agree with what your experience was. Because you start with the framing that it's your personal take and maybe it doesn't apply. Some people go on a route like, you're doing things wrong. Here's how you should be doing them. And that's what kind of invites negative feedback and negative reactions. So there are many ways to frame your content that are nice and innocent and safe. And you won't get attacked because there aren't so many bad people in the design community.
I also feel that way. And I think you choose the tone of voice, right?
Yeah.
So I also decided not to do a lot of controversial posts, like stuff like that sound like hot, you know, because it's not my tone of voice. And I don't like, there is a possibility to build that track and attract a lot of controversial comments and a lot of actually viral activity around your content. But I think authenticity is the main thing. And probably it didn't happen with you, but with people who start creating now, it takes longer. And sometimes it takes many iterations before you get even one post that gets some attention.
Yeah.
And people tend to give up so super early.
Yeah.
Like I posted once, I posted 2 times, 3, 1 month, and I see it's not going well, I will give up. Do you see that trend? Or maybe people come to you and ask you, Ioana, how you made that happen, that now you're posting everywhere, it's like a content system. Everything works very well for you, and I'm not. I'm like, and I'm sad about that.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to give up.
Well, it's really, I'm a human as well. I didn't hire anyone to do content for me. I didn't externalize it ever. I do all my content. I do my Figma posts. I do everything I do by myself. And so I have my feelings hurt in terms of engagement often. So I tried growing on TikTok at some point. Speaking of like getting hate on the internet, like on TikTok, I got some hateful comments because first of all, it's like a very geo-located, that's how it starts. It's based on where you're at. And I'm in Bucharest, it's not a big tech scene. People in Romania aren't really into tech. And I was doing English content and they were like, why are you talking English? What is this? I don't know. So they really got I got hate there. And I kept trying for a while, but I was getting hate and no engagement. And then I was like, what am I doing this for? I don't need TikTok. Okay, brands want TikTok, whatever. It's not my thing. And so I also give up, right? Sometimes I give up. And then the thing is, it depends what your motivator is. If you're doing it for engagement and success, then yes, it's going to be hard. If you're doing it for your own internal documentation process or for the fun of it or for, I don't know, just this journaling exercise. For me, my personal account, again, is just my journal. From time to time, I go on it and I scroll back and I'm like, oh, look, I was at the seaside. I don't know when. I was doing this. I don't know when. And it really helps me revisit my recent past and distant past. So if you're doing it for engagement, you're going to have a hard time because it comes harder. So yeah, I remember when I started UX Goodies, I had no plans for growing, and at some point it crossed my mind, oh my God, what if I ever have like 4,000 followers on UX Goodies. I'm gonna tell everyone. I'm gonna call my family. I'm gonna throw a party, like 4,000 followers, and like start small. Now I'm starting this AI art account, and it has 300 followers, and it's growing. It's growing constantly, but very slowly. And I'm like, you know what? I value
I have
this.
time here.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm not in a hurry. I'm not optimizing. Like, it depends what you're doing it for. If the motivator is just the process and the fun of it, you won't be disappointed because that's not why you're doing it. And again, I cherish my 300 followers on Soft Machines. That's the name of my art account. Yeah.
This is so nice to hear from you, like such a humble attitude to your audience, which is massive already. And appreciating even small numbers because they are not small. Let's imagine 300 people in one room. They couldn't fit here.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this exercise with myself like all the time, trying to imagine all these people in one room.
Yeah.
Really helps, especially after visiting big concerts like Coldplay. It really helps. But apart from all the things we discussed, I'm curious also about your life and balance and stuff like that, because you're a mother, which is another big part of your identity. You're traveling a lot, you're doing many different things simultaneously. I'm impressed that you're doing your content by yourself, which is wow. At this scale, I can imagine people are delegating it way earlier.
Yeah.
And yeah. So can you tell how you build your life around what you are doing? Because it feels like you have many elements to put into some sort of lifestyle and the system. And how does it look like for you to be a mother, at the same time to be a business owner, even several businesses, and feel good?
Yeah,
Hopefully.
I actually feel great, but it was very hard for the years where I had a full-time job and a content business. It was just this. So I didn't have time for anything else. I was the kind of person who didn't really have hobbies or did any sports, or I was just designing, working. I also had like a part-time design job with a startup in Boston, and I was doing content, and it was just, that was my life. That was my full identity. I was working many hours, and I felt that my social media projects about design, they were like the fun things I did, right? So I was doing the work, and now I'm doing the fun things. So it was just taking up all the time I had available, and I didn't have a child back then, so I had a lot of time. And so I just I sacrificed like time with friends, or not intentionally, but like just organically. I was like excited to do these things, and I did them. And then when Mia came, my daughter, I am lucky enough to live in Romania, and I had 2 years at home, so the full-time job wasn't active in my life. So I launched my design school. I had a boot camp for transitioning into design, and that was a very successful business product, which I decided to exit eventually, exactly because it became not very creative. So when you're building a business like that, where we had hundreds of students from the US, from all over the world, you have to focus on sales, marketing. Like, my job became operations officer, and I didn't want that. I want to be creative and do design, and I came back to design by exiting that business, and Mia was already in my life. So when I had like the hardest time, and the time where I went into burnout, was when I was having a full-time job, still didn't want to give up on my content stuff because it got somewhere. So I already started having big brand partnerships, long-term deals, and so on. So I didn't want to abandon that. I also wanted to be very present for Mia, but I also needed a full-time job psychologically. And I was doing nice things in my full-time job. I started working on AI. So for 2 years and a half, I had a full-time job, content, Mia, and it was exhausting. So it was very hard. I don't recommend stretching yourself so much for a long time. Like, you can do it for 1 year. If it's something you really want to do, you can push yourself a little bit, right, in your life, but then you also have to counterbalance that with some sort of counterbalance that with time to recover, health-wise, space-wise, clarity-wise, and so on. So now I'm in a very sweet spot where I do a lot of creative work, and I have like my daughter is going to kindergarten and I pick her up at 4, and between dropping her off at 8 and picking her up at 4, I can do a lot of work, and I do a lot of work, and I'm like energized. I know that's my window for working. I can't go over it because I want to stay with her in the evening. And I just like at 4, I wrap up everything. I'm very privileged to be able to do that. And then I spend time with her. And so it's like, I don't feel I'm missing out, but this is possible because I run my own thing now, right? So I organize my life. If there's like, let's say I have a project I have to deliver, or there are days where I have to prepare, I don't know what talk or workshop or training for companies. When things get heavy, then I ask for help. I have a support system. My grandparents aren't. So I think I'm in a kind of privileged place where I don't have the full-time job, which is consuming a lot of energy from people. Like, it's very draining, not just because of the amount of work, but also because of the amount of friction, frustrations, tensions, and so on. So I think people don't mind working a lot when they see the result of their work or when they're appreciated on, but it's really different when most jobs are not very emotionally rewarding.
Yeah.
And I don't have that, so I have a support system. I have a lot of free time, plenty of free time during the day to work, and I'm able to balance these worlds quite nicely this year. This is the first year where I feel like I've again, speaking about give yourself the opportunity to have space, it feels great. Like, I'm a more present parent, and I'm also more present business owner. And it's just, now it works for me. Is it sustainable? I don't know. The world is changing very quickly. Nobody knows. I don't know if next year I will have the same brand deals or no brand deal. Will people still invite me to talks, or will they be like, you know what, I've seen her everywhere. I'm not, she's talked enough. She has nothing left to say. I don't know what's gonna happen, but like, I'm taking my life in this year and next 6 months and next 6 months. I think with AI, like reshaping the world we live in and tech in general, you can only plan further ahead for like optimistically 2 years.
I would say even 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, like you said several times, like you're coming from a privileged position, or like you're privileged. But to be honest, I think it took a lot of effort to get to this point.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't feel like, I know, like sometimes looking at influencers like Ioana and others, it feels like it's easy now. Yeah, it feels like, ooh, it's easy now. I'm just talking everywhere. I'm just traveling, enjoying my life. But it's a path to get there, first of all. And even inside that reality, it feels good, it feels exciting, but it's also very energetically like intense. Yeah, you're traveling a lot and a lot of things are happening. However, I think, as you've mentioned, just to also wrap it up, finally, AI gives us this optionality and ability to adjust your life, adjust your career. And because this season is called the Creator's Path, you're a creator. I would define you like as a creator in my broad term. Who is a creator in this new era? Like, will we see more people who create? We will see maybe new types of creators. What are your predictions about that?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I want to quickly make a note on the privilege part. Just yesterday, I was reflecting on the fact that I'm a woman from Eastern Europe, from Romania, which is a country that's not like the Western European good country, it's an Eastern European bad country. We come from a communist background of scarcity and struggle. And just yesterday, I had this kind of like, the privilege I perceive is, of course, grandparents and being able to speak English well and think about things. But apart from that, it's work. And I actually told a friend yesterday, what was my life have been if I were born in San Francisco and went to, I don't know, study at Stanford. And yeah, I mean, it's not privilege, right? Privilege is being in the center of the things. Like, I'm at the outskirts. People are very surprised that I'm from Romania, which is a capital for nothing when it comes to tech. And yeah, so I think it's just a fallacy here. Creators, I have a bunch of ideas about that. I feel that, especially in product design and development and tech in general, I had a stage where I thought, similar to what was discussed today at Hatch, right? Our roles are converging. Now designers can code and PMs can prototype, and we can all do things from the other bucket of technical skills with these instruments. And so my prediction at that point, when I saw this emergent or merging together trend, was that we're going to end up having one role, which will be called probably the creator. So people will just imagine things and then create them. And so I feel that creator is now destined more like associated with influencers, right? He's a content creator, he's a creator. He's like, even when I talk to brands, I was talking with a big, very sexy tech brand recently, and they told me, I want you to support us in creating a creator community. And like, this is what, in my world, creator means content creator. But I think this is being brought on more and more, and even artists are creators. Product builders, they're creators, they're creating products and they're creating value and they're creating an experience. And so I really feel that with everything that AI is offering us, we just have to start seeing ourselves as creationists, as creators, right? We put things in the world with these instruments. We imagine them and then we find a path towards building them if we learn they are valuable. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And I think, yeah, if you are considering that, just give it a try. I think it worth it. And also, creating things is a part of our human nature. It's very fulfilling. And sometimes we forget about that, being trapped by operations, etc., in our full-time jobs. And I wish more companies and more like, you know, in general, industries would allow people to have space to create anything they want. Thank you, Anna, so much for this conversation. It was a pleasure to have you again on this show. And for everybody else, if you enjoyed that, please share what resonated, what you'd like to hear more. Share it with me here where you are listening or watching it to, or with Ioana. It's important for us, right? We want to create the content that is valuable to you. And hope you will enjoy other episodes of Growthmates, and see you. Yeah.
Bye.
Aspire.